The medical bay of the Concordia station hummed with the soft glow of bioscanners and the rhythmic beeping of monitoring equipment. Dr. Zixthar, a Valerian physician whose iridescent scales shimmered under the artificial lights, stood frozen in absolute horror as he reviewed the medical file displayed on his holoscreen. "This cannot be correct," he whispered, his voice trembling through his translation collar. His three-fingered hands shook as he scrolled through the data again. This simply cannot be correct. Susan Martinez, the human medical officer assigned to the Joint Interspecies Research Station, looked up from her workstation with mild curiosity. "Something wrong, Zix?" The Valerian turned to face her, his large obsidian eyes wide with what could only be described as existential dread. "Susan, I have been reviewing the medical protocols for the human crew members arriving next cycle, and I have discovered something absolutely terrifying." Lucas Chen, the human engineer who had been tinkering with a malfunctioning medical scanner in the corner, chuckled without looking up. "Let me guess. You found out about our appendix? Yeah, we've got a useless organ that can randomly try to kill us. Evolution's weird." "No!" Zixthar's scales flushed a deep purple, a sign of severe distress among his people. "Worse, far worse." He thrust the holoscreen toward Susan. You inject viruses into yourselves, into your children. On purpose." Susan blinked, then glanced at the screen. Her expression softened into understanding. "Oh, you mean vaccines?" "Vaccines," Zixthar repeated the word as if it were a curse. "Yes, this barbaric practice. According to these records, you introduce weakened or dead pathogens directly into your bloodstream. You do this to infants, to the elderly, to everyone." His voice rose with each sentence. "What kind of death cult species are you?" Lucas finally set down his tools and walked over, wiping his hands on his coveralls. "It's not barbaric, Zix. It's actually one of the smartest things we've ever figured out." The Valerian's scales rippled with agitation. Smart? "You deliberately infect yourselves with diseases." Susan pulled up a chair and gestured for Zixthar to sit. The alien doctor hesitated, then perched nervously on the edge of the seat, as if proximity to humans might somehow contaminate him with their insanity. "Okay," Susan began patiently. "Let me explain. Our immune systems are aggressive, really aggressive. When a pathogen invades our body, our immune system goes to war. It learns to recognize the enemy, creates specific weapons, antibodies, to fight it, and then remembers that enemy forever." Yes, Zixthar waved a hand dismissively. "Standard adaptive immunity. The Valerian immune system functions similarly, though far more efficiently and without the need for such." "But here's the thing," Lucas interrupted, leaning against the wall with a grin. "We figured out that we could train our immune systems. Give them a practice round with a weakened version of a disease. Let them learn the enemy's face so when the real threat comes along, our bodies already know how to fight it." Zixthar stared at them both. "You use your own bodies as training grounds for microscopic warfare?" "Exactly." Susan's eyes lit up. "Instead of waiting to get sick and hoping we survive, we give our immune systems a head start. We show them the enemy in advance, but the risks," Zixthar protested. "Introducing foreign pathogens into healthy individuals. The potential for catastrophic immune responses. The possibility of the weakened virus becoming virulent again." Susan nodded. "Those are valid concerns, and we've spent centuries perfecting the process. But here's what you need to understand, Zix. Before vaccines, diseases like smallpox killed hundreds of millions of humans. Polio paralyzed children. Measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria. They wiped out entire populations." She pulled up historical data on the holoscreen. Images of plague victims, iron lungs, and devastated communities flickered across the display. Zixthar's scales paled to a sickly gray. "And now?" Lucas added. "Smallpox is extinct. We eliminated it completely. It only exists in secured labs. Polio is nearly gone. Countless diseases that used to be death sentences are now just inconveniences we prevent entirely." "We took our biggest weakness," Susan continued, her voice filled with quiet pride, "our vulnerability to disease, and we turned it into a strength. We learned to hack our own biology." Zixthar was silent for a long moment, processing this information. His scales slowly shifted back to their normal blue-green hue. "And this is considered normal among humans? Parents willingly bring their offspring to be injected with diseases. Not just normal, Mandatory in most regions, Susan confirmed. It's one of the greatest public health achievements in human history. We've saved billions of lives. The Valerian doctor rose and began pacing, his tail twitching with agitation. Let me understand this completely. You discovered that your immune systems could learn and remember pathogens. Then you deliberately exposed yourselves to those pathogens in controlled circumstances. Then you systematized this process and applied it to your entire species. And because of this, you eradicated diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. That's about right, Lucas confirmed. Zixthar stopped pacing and turned to face them both. That is the most insane, reckless, brilliant thing I have ever heard, Susan laughed. Welcome to humanity, Zix. We're kind of known for that. The Valerian returned to his console, his fingers moving rapidly across the holographic interface. I need to inform the Galactic Medical Council immediately. If this technique could be adapted for other species. He paused, looking back at the humans with something approaching awe. Do you realize what you have accomplished? Most spacefaring civilizations manage disease through complex pharmaceutical interventions, genetic modifications, or sterile environmental controls. But you weaponized your own immune systems. You turned your bodies into adaptive defense platforms. Yeah, Lucas said with a shrug. We're stubborn like that. When something tries to kill us, we figure out how to make ourselves stronger from it. Zixthar began typing rapidly, muttering to himself. The Council will never believe this. Humans inject themselves with their enemies to become immune to them. They practice warfare at the cellular level. They have turned biological vulnerability into evolutionary advantage. Susan exchanged a glance with Lucas, both smiling. Wait until he finds out about allergen immunotherapy, Lucas whispered. Or exposure therapy for phobias, Susan added with a grin. What was that? Zixthar looked up suspiciously. Nothing, they said in unison. The Valerian's eyes narrowed. There is more, isn't there? More human insanity disguised as medical innovation. Susan's smile widened. Zix, you have no idea. Humans have a saying, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. We've basically built our entire medical philosophy around it. Zixthar's scales flushed purple again. I need to sit down. You're already sitting, Lucas pointed out. Then I need to sit down more. As the Valerian doctor processed the implications of human medical practices, Susan returned to her work, humming softly. Outside the medical bay's viewport, stars glittered in the endless dark of space. A frontier that humanity had reached not by being the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but by being too stubborn to let anything, even microscopic organisms, stand in their way. And throughout the galaxy, other species were about to learn what humans had known for centuries. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, even when that offense involves fighting fire with fire at the molecular level. Vaccines. The galaxy was welcome.